All right, peace and black power family. Welcome to another Sarnetta TV House of Consciousness production. You already know what it is. This is your brother Sarnetta. I am your host, and I'm bringing in another heavy hitter. You brothers and sisters better be ready when we build this wall, this comedic wall. Oh my God, ain't nothing stopping. We bringing in another young brother. He's a scholar. You one leave, 5 more come in. Reggie leave, 5 more come in. You know what I'm saying? Garfield leaves and turn his back on Kemet, 10 more come in. We already got Chris Harris. We bringing in another brother who is awesome, who is powerful. I would say I don't know, between him and Jabari, I would say they probably right here until I see the brother's work and ethic, and if he can handle the ring, getting in, or the battlefield, or whatever, anybody that come at him, if he can deal with that pressure, I think he can, because he's Kemet. And so without any further ado, I bring to you my brother, Shaka, in the building. What's up, Shaka? He runs the channel of Ma'at Forever. So if y'all are aware of that, make sure you go and subscribe to Ma'at Forever channel. Go over there and show some love for our brother. Peace and black power to you. Hotep. Shaka, what's happening, man? Unmute yourself.
Hotep Sen-E Sarnetta,
Yeah.
thank you for the invitation. I just want to greet the people as I usually do. Hotep Senu, Hena Senut, Iti, Ren Isha Kandugu Kemet. I hope you're doing well. Bonjour, Sak Passe, Mbote, all that good stuff.
Damn, don't y'all hear that? Don't that sound beautiful to your ears, man, right there? Just to hear him go in on that. I know he dealing with knowledge, man.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut, Iti, Ren Isha Kandugu Kemet. I hope you're doing well. Now I want to check the sound first of all. It's okay. Okay, the title of this live stream is Sexual Crimes, Afrika Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. In parentheses, you have URL, and it is hip hop stands with survivors.com. I was supposed to have a class, but there was a time change in America. Now I know they don't change the time at the same date everywhere in America, but the brother who happens to take the class in his region, they have changed the time. They went up an hour. Uh, in France, we would change in 2 weeks' time. So that's how we missed each other, and so I'm doing this live stream now. So we have Ibenet, who wrote Hotep, and he wrote, "Too real was cool, man. I like the fact you were willing to converse with him as an elder, Shaka." It's the first time that I recall somebody using the word elder for me, and it feels strange. But I'm 40 now. I started my website. I was 22 years old, and in less than 1 month, it will be 19 years ago. Texas Bama wrote, "Cool." So yes, Too Real, that's his username, is laid back, and usually that's the kind of conversation I have, even if we don't agree. It's always cool, no rah stuff, you know what I'm saying? But lately we have some people who try to justify and act like child molestation is cool, and child molestation, sorry, is cool, and rape is cool, and it's not that bad, and but anyway. So I'm going to share the link. Well, first, this is the YouTube of Layla Wheels. I first known of Layla Wheels probably a decade ago. She wrote the book. I forgot the title, but if you look it up, you might see it online about the Nation of Islam and the alliance with the Church of Scientology. So probably the title had Farrakhan. But you know what? I can show you better than I can tell you. There it is. Farrakhan the movie. Those Amazon links can be long. I'll see if this one works. Shorten it a little bit. Okay, so Tony Williams has joined us. You have the link to the book here. Hold on. There it is. Farrakhan the movie. And it was released indeed in 2012. So that was a decade ago. See? Sorry. Uh, I'm going to share this website. This is Bama wrote he's a joke. I'm not talking about the brother to real. It's not a joke. I mean he's clear. Okay. Um the believing the Bible stuff, was a bit contradictionary, but hold on. It's contradictory. Contradictory, not contradictionary. It's contradictory. My bad. Um, but I think he's really cool and laid back. Hey, Sister Thickness. She was a moderator actually. Alex Lito was a moderator. Actually, I think the moderators on my channel were only women, sisters to be precise. Um, see, there was a time a lot of sisters used to come on this panel, and we had a brother who was an Asiatic black man, and I would let him on, even though he will usually teach his Asiatic black man stuff and tell us about references from books. And every time I take the time and look for it, and it was never there, whatever he said. And I think the sisters got tired and bounced. You know what I'm saying? And I regret. One day they let him have him. Yeah, they let him have it. I mean, damn, they basically telling him, "Like, we tired of your Asiatic black man stuff." You know what I'm saying? But you live and you learn. But like I told Thickness in a comment when I replied to one of her kind comment, I remember when I used to live stream when Google Hangouts was still there, and I used to give metal nature classes for free. See, Thickness remember. She reminds of that time period with the Asiatic black man. And I used to give metal nature classes for free then, you know. But there wasn't that many people. There was just a few people, but she was there. You know what I'm saying? She would call in, you know what I'm saying? So she goes kind of way back, like 3 years ago, when I started, live streaming on a regular basis, you know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. If you've been at road, I like the fact too. Real at least was able to have the dialogue. Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, I'm so used to people. That like they might act like they are diplomatic at first, but then they really want to, snake DC and stuff like that. And I'm like, we have to understand that we disagree. You know, that people say, agree to disagree, and some people have a hard time with others not sharing the same views. You know what I'm saying? And but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. Maybe, I mean, lately there was a bit of drama indeed, but when I have people who support and defend and make excuses for rapists and child molesters, it's gonna be difficult to have a peaceful setting, peaceful environment. See, Thickness wrote, "I've been following you since 2012. I believe when your channel name was Shakandugu Kemen." Well, I have one that's called Shakandugu Kemen, but in 2012, I don't know if it was history or mystery, or if it was already Egypt decoded. I think it was probably Egypt decoded indeed, because that's the one that I had until 2016 when I lost my account with 9,000 subscribers. And so yeah, it must have been Egypt decoded. And before Egypt decoded, it was history not mystery. Before history not mystery, it was Afro Styly, spelled with the I at the beginning. Before that, it was Afro Styly. Basically, like the name of my website for those who know it, but you have it in the middle here. The comment is blocking, but you see, Afrostyly. So it was spelled like that with three Y's at the end. Before that, it was two Y's at the end. Before that, it was just like it is spelled there with only one Y at the end. So man, I lost a few. I lost a few indeed. I had an yeah. Afrostyle is spelled with the I, like iPhone. I lost that one and the Afro Styly with three Y's at the end because of the Amen Ra Squad flagging campaign. One had 3,000, the other one had 4,000 subscribers. So within like a week or two, I think it was within a week, but it's like over 10 years ago, so I don't remember exactly if it was 1 week or 2 weeks. But I lost 7,000 subscribers. You know what I'm saying, man? Dang. You see, thickness with, yeah, Egypt decoded, you know. And she wrote Afro Styly. I visited there too. So I'm so happy when there's people who've been following me for so long, and um, every now and then people say, "Man, because you lose a channel, and people don't know what the next channel's name gonna be." You know what I'm saying? But anyway. Oh, Imhotep University TV has joined us as well. Oui. See how sweet? She said, "I want to, I want to have a hug." Because when she gonna grow up, I'm gonna care about giving a hug to daddy. Bisous. Dis au tête. Au tête. Allez, dis au revoir. Au revoir. Ah, va voir maman, va voir maman. Je suis occupé, va voir maman. Tu peux pas rester avec ça fait du bruit, Mérode. Va voir maman. Allez, va voir maman. À tout à l'heure. Allez, à tout à l'heure. À tout à l'heure. Thickness World, you made a response video back in like 2013, 2014 too. Lol. Response, you mean to the Amon squad? Oh, there were so many responses. They would make live streams, you know, acting like they want to refute my information, but they were dissing me in the process. But yeah, I always had some clap back. I always had some get back. Always, no matter who's hollering. Yeah, she got so big because a fair bit of you seen her when she was like brand new, you know. And yeah, she's a big troublemaker now. Sorry. So yeah, I did share that website here. There's a scheduled march on March 27, 2023. Day of action. Understand the game, the politics of hip hop. So let's say a protest. There's a protest schedule for March 27, 9 a.m. in New York City Hall, 260 Broadway. And it says stop protecting predators. You know. And here you have a link. Read report on Afrika Bambaataa, Rocky Bucano, the Zulu Nation, and Universal Hip Hop Museum. And here hashtag protect kids. Stop Eric Adams and Chuck Schumer from using tax dollars to promote alleged predators, enablers, and corp silence. Here you have a few pictures. Demand responsibility, accountability, and integrity from public institutions. Meet survivors and understand delayed disclosure. Even have the details, about the direction, the route of this march. You see, you have the map here. You have the trip planner, the bus and train direction. It says, please bring handled signs, but signs cannot be affixed to sticks or poles. Okay. And you have a video here from Layla Wheel's YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, she interviewed a brother who is a subscriber to this channel. We have Sister Andrea Brindis in the place to be. And it is Chuck Morgan. Chuck Morgan has been studying the cuneiform writing for a long time. So here you see that's Layla Wheel's YouTube channel. I've shared the link already. And the third video before last is was a year ago. You see, trapped in a
We
culture.
just launched a
Hold
new
on. So it is. So, Trapped in a Culture, Afrika Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation, part 13 of 44. Chuck Morgan, Malakayo Chuck Morgan, like it says here, was a member of the Nubians. He helps us understand how Afrika Bambaataa formed a relationship with York before incorporating his teachings into the Zulu Nation. As a public service, Chuck has built and maintains a website dedicated to Nubian research. Please make a donation to keep the extensive information on his site flowing. Chuck's website, I'm going to share the link. Nuapianism, and his Cash App as well while I'm at it. Actually, I was speaking with a brother on the phone, and some of these deities, like the Anunnaki type of deities, there's something close to child molestation. Like the one of the god had sex with the pastor's children. So it's like, damn, man, this Asiatic black man, you know what I'm saying? All these followers of the Asiatic way. But anyway, now I'm going to share the link to the report. Because once again, it's very easy to have that report. When you are on the website, here you have the link. Read the report. So when you click on it, it's hosted on Google Drive. I'm sharing the link here. Report. I've read half of it this morning before I went to the gym. And I thought, okay, you know what? I was hesitating. Should I read it live on air or not? Because it's lengthy. As a matter of fact, get something to drink ready. But there's so much information. And it's strange that people who live in New York don't talk about this. But then, maybe some reasons why. Butler Reggie lives in the Bronx. Doesn't say a word about this. And then some going to have the nerve to ask, what is he doing for the community? I'm helping people being safer because we have some predators around. So let's go. Special report. Rocky Bucano in a Universal Hip Hop Museum. Public money, undue influence, conflicts of interest. Sorry, by Hip Hop Stands with Survivors. February 19, 2023. You see, that's very recent. They can't pull the, oh, that's old news, Shaka. You're bringing old stuff. You late. Because that's what they say when you talk about rapists and child molesters. Oh, we've been knowing about this, man. We know he went to jail for that. You late, Chaka. The day is going to be their family member, their children. I wonder if they're going to be laughing like that. Universal Hip Hop Museum Board 610 Exterior Street, Bronx, New York, 10451, Attorney David Miller, Legal Counsel. Dear Mr. Miller, I'm writing you and the Universal Hip Hop Museum on behalf of our collective, Hip Hop Stands with Survivors, to inform you and the board. Hold on. Where's the mute button? I'm going to test the mute button so this will avoid you here every time I'm coughing. So what I'm going to do, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm testing. Without the mute on. Without the. Okay, I get it. So now, great. Okay, okay. I'm sorry. I'm writing you and the Universal Hip Hop Museum on behalf of our collective, Hip Hop Stands with Survivors, to inform you and the board of the serious grievances we have with Rocky Bucano and the HUHM. I'm sorry, and the HUHHM. Before your response to my emails, HUHHM ignored our information requests for months, violating IRS nonprofit organizational policies. Our group was days away from a press conference and demonstration at City Hall to protest Mayor Adams and Senator Schumer's designation of millions of more public dollars to Rocky Bucano and the UHHM. I might as well say Hip Hop Museum. It will be easier for me to pronounce than UHHM. After hearing from you and in an effort of good faith, we have paused our plans for the public protest to make the newly formed board aware of Buchanan's shameful and intolerable failure of accountability. He scrambled to assemble a board after we called his stewardship into question is not enough. Hip Hop Stands with Survivors is demanding Rocky Buchanan's resignation and for the Hip Hop Museum to sever all ties to Bucano, Afrika Bambaataa, and its enablers, the Zulu Nation and its members. Now, before I continue, you notice that here it's not us that just one person downs. Now we have some platform they invite convicted rapists on a regular basis. They invite others who actively support their fellow members who have been found guilty in a court of law for child molestation. But on those platforms, they seem to be playing hide and seek. Oh, it's not me, I'm not responsible for what a man does. You're responsible for your platform. You know who you're inviting. You know what they have done. Let's continue. Our group is prepared to launch our campaign and will not cease efforts until Bucano resigns and the museum's promotion and hiring of the Zulu Nation ends or the Hip Hop Museum stops receiving public dollars. We are also demanding Microsoft and other publicly traded companies cease their partnerships with the Hip Hop Museum until this matter is resolved. Over the last 6 years, I have continued my friendship with the survivors of Bambara and the Zulu Nation, and together with their supporters, child advocates, victim advocates, and other activists, we are hip hop stands with survivors. Almost everyone in our group loves hip hop, and the idea of a museum, however Bucano, has proven to be an unreliable shepherd of public accountability. So, those people who are actively protecting child molesters and rapists, they'll probably tell the hip hop stands with survivors that they are doing gossiping. Because they are so much into rape and so much into defending their friends and family members who are rapists and child molesters that this is the kind of talking points that they have. Oh, you're doing gossiping, man. He has had years to make the situation right and has refused to do so. This is activism in the pursuit of justice, and there is no greater tyrant than an abuser of children. Now, you see the difference between the people who say, "Oh, that's all news." You late. He says there is no greater tyrant than an abuser of children. Those who enabled Bambara and or covered up the abuse and or now promote the Zulu Nation. We have some people who promote the organization that support child molesters. I don't need to say any names. And or ignore these serious allegations are just as despicable as the abuser. It's another perspective. It's another mindset. It's not the house of rape mindset right here. The plan to have the Hip Hop Museum offer children and teen programming under Bucano's leadership is absolutely outrageous and obscene. In the interest of full disclosure, I have no personal stake in these matters, financial or otherwise, except that I have paid taxes in New York since 1997 and refuse to allow my tax dollars to be used unethically by the Hip Hop Museum. I'm also the child of two members of the Black Panther Party and was extremely moved by the stories of the men you will soon learn about. I worked for Source Magazine, Universal Music, Arista, HBO, and several other companies and artists for years in preservation and curation. And I work for a prestigious preservation council in Chicago, and I am the executive director of the Historical Preservation Society of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. In journalism, I publish a newspaper called Metropolis. I also work for a nonprofit that works with at risk and vulnerable youth on O Block, a neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, and was working on a documentary about the child sexual abuse allegations against Afrika Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation. That documentary effort is over. But what is not over is the ongoing child sex trafficking lawsuit against Bambara and the Zulu Nation and the museum's continued involvement with them. We have prepared the following report on Rocky Bucano and the Hip Hop Museum. While some things may seem unrelated, they are necessary to show the full picture and that Rocky Bucano's ties to Bambara and the Zulu Nation are unbreakable and irreversible. We expect his resignation or for the board to vote him out of the museum's leadership and for the museum to sever all ties with Bucano, Bambara, and the Zulu Nation. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to its swift resolution. Layla Wills. So you have different contents. Now, I have read half of it. There's no mention of that Bucano dude being guilty or even accused of child molestation. Well, from what I read, I will read it all with you. But they are calling for his resignation. So you have some people who host platforms, allegedly for the people, for information, and they are gladly inviting convicted rapists, and people are not calling for his resignation, or very few people who are asking him to stop doing that. The majority are clapping their cheeks at the groupies that they are. But anyway, undue influence and conflicts of interest. Hip hop stands with survivors has been surveilling the Universal Hip Hop Museum and its continued relations with Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation. So this might be abbreviated to UZN. I'm sorry, you said Z. UZN. Since news of their alleged child sexual abuse became public in 2016, Bambaataa spoke openly about having a museum, and Bucano could not have made it past the first step without Bambaataa. It is our position that he and the UZN exert undue influence over Bucano. The UZN and Bambaataa's authority over Bucano can be discerned from the naming of the museum to its content, character, and language. The UZN and Bambaataa are continuously and conspicuously promoted by and within the museum, even after horrific allegations of abuse arose. Although Bucano gives glorious explanations for the word universal in the museum's name and has issued disclaimers denying relations with the UZN, we find this to be a patent falsehood. And in this report, draw a direct correlation to Bambaataa. And when it comes to the House of Rape and House of Pedo and House of Clowns spelled with a K, I mean, we don't need to draw correlation. I mean, we've seen them together. They used to be homies, kicking it, chilling, many different places, you know. They were buddies for sure. Our collective is demanding Bucano's removal from the museum and for the museum to sever any and all ties with the UZN and Afrika Bambaataa. According to the Universal Museum filings with the New York Attorney General, since 2015, Bucano, his business partner Wesley Manjit, and Zulu Nation member Sean Thomas, aka Cutman LG, were the only three voting members on the museum's board. The Universal Museum bylaws attached state that each voting board member serves for a lifetime. Because Bucano and Manjit were business partners, Thomas, a close friend of Bambaataa and part of the Zulu Nation, was the only independent voting member. We began asking Renee Foster for a list of the voting board members in November 2022. And the Universal Museum's financials for 2021 and 2022. Foster ignored our numerous requests, and we did not get a response until we contacted attorney David Miller in February 2023, at which time we obtained the names of the current board Bucano assembled after we began scrutinizing the museum's leadership. Bucano initially set up the museum's structure so that he could never be voted off the board, voted off the board, and would serve a lifetime term. It is our belief that he has been the frontman for Bambaataa and the UZN and would have never changed the museum's bylaws and board had we not begun our inquiry. Now you notice that when it comes to the House of Rape, House of Pedo, because of the collective effort of the brothers and sisters who are against child molesters, against rape, we have surely provoked or caused some change of action on their part. Before, a homie was saying that the black man would stand up and slap
All of you hoes, the black man gonna stand up and smack the shit out y'all motherfuckers.
But now we have the angels now. We have size angels. But before, it was Pimp Hand Strong Sa. The lack of diversity, equity, and inclusion on the Universal Museum Board. Attorney David Miller provided the names of the current board of the Universal Museum. Voting board members do not include women. Any of the Bambaataa survivors or any child advocates to protect children after several men accused the Universal Museum's co founder of sexual abuse and child sex trafficking. It also does not include any other hip hop historians that could challenge Bucano's continued relations and constant promotion of the UZN. Hip hop stands with survivors view this newly assembled board that now excludes Zulu member Sean Cutman L.G. Thomas after 8 years as an admission of Rocky Bucano's previous unethical board setup that was made up of himself, his business partner, and Thomas as lifetime members. Emeritus members non-voting. Nana Carmen Ashurst, Chairwoman Emeritus. Curtis Blow, Chairman Emeritus. Voting members, Rocky Bucano, Executive Director. Adam Silverstein, Collector and Attorney. Peter Bittenbender, CEO Massapia. Bruce Jackson, Associate General Counsel Microsoft. Ruben Diaz Jr., the 13th Bronx Borough President. Non-voting members, Dr. Stephen Alexander, theoretical cosmologist. Alan Carley, Faith Newman, Cece Johnson, Louis Eric Barrier, who is Eric B. from Eric B. and Rakim. Child sex trafficking, lawsuit, and the case against Universal Museum co-founder Afrika Bambaataa and the Universal Zulu Nation. Now this is serious child sex trafficking lawsuit, not slander, not gossiping, a matter that has been forwarded to a court of law. Understanding the heinous civil charges and allegations against Bambaataa and the UZN is what makes Bucano's continued relationship with them unacceptable. You heard that? The relationship is unacceptable. But was been making all the excuses in the world when it comes to the House of Pedals. On August 4, 2021, John Doe filed a historic Child Victims Act civil lawsuit against Lance Taylor, aka Afrika Bambaataa, and the Universal Zulu Nation. The anonymous plaintiff is keeping his identity secret out of an abundance of cautious after another person who spoke out was murdered. There is no evidence that Bambaataa or the Zulu Nation had anything to do with the murder of UZN's international spokesman Tony Bell, aka TC Islam. And an Atlanta man was convicted of the crime. Islam said he received numerous death threats and went into hiding before he was killed. In the John Doe case, Bambaataa, the UZN, nor any legal representative responded to court summonses during the 17-month-long child sex trafficking lawsuit, which is waiting on the judge to issue a final verdict. Several men were prepared to face Bambaataa in court to offer testimony of their own abuse, and the allegations span several decades, from the 70s through the 2000s. Because Bambaataa and the UZN failed to appear and did not bother to defend themselves nor participate in the case, no trial took place and the names of possible enablers were not aired out in public. The criminal statute of limitation for the state of New York has run out. However, as in the R. Kelly case, federal prosecutors could apply federal statutes if the alleged crimes qualify. Kelly was convicted of racketeering on allegations that date back to 1991, the same year Bambaataa began abusing John Doe. Bambaataa had been difficult to track down since he vacated his last known address in Teaneck, maybe it's pronounced, New Jersey, or NJ. And now this is Kenny Snyder's home. Snyder, known as Zulu King Yoda, was a Bambaataa loyalist to the end. Judge Alexander Tisch, denied Ortega's request to serve the motion for default judgment via publication to the elusive Bambaataa because Bambaataa gave up the right to be notified after being non-responsive for a year. The default guilty verdict is expected against Lance Taylor, aka Afrika Bambaataa, the Universal Zulu Nation, and XYZ Corp. Presumably, the latter is Nubian Productions, a company run by Bampaata's longtime manager and roommate Billy Ahmed Henderson. Nubian Production is on several flyers. The Universal Hip Hop Museum acquired in Henderson is another longtime friend of Rocky Bucano. Now, I don't know if you understand what correctly. Some people are cool, kicking like monkeys. And when I say monkeys, I'm talking about people kicking about child molestation like it's nothing. Like, if you talk about it, you're gossiping. But here you see all the different names. There's a trial coming up, man. Some people think it's so good, man. But when they're going to be considered accomplices and accessories, they ain't going to be kicking that much. Attorney Hugo Ortega filed the case under the jurisdiction of the Bronx Supreme Court because of the amount of monetary damages John Doe is seeking. Ortega, who represents John Doe, has not made the recompense public, but it exceeds the jurisdiction of all lower courts. If John Doe can squeeze money out of the disgraced and self-proclaimed god of universal hip-hop culture remains to be seen. The Amen Ra god of universal hip-hop culture uses several aliases. That sounds familiar. We've seen somebody with 7 aliases and has had over 6 years to potentially hide his assets under a declaration of sovereignty and other means. Now we know who deals with sovereignty. It's the Moors, right? News of the allegations of child sexual abuse against Bambaataa became widely known in 2016 when veteran hip hop radio personality Troy Star Torrent interviewed Ronald Savage, Hassan Campbell, and several other men who gave accounts of Bambaataa abusing them when they were under New York's 17-year-old age of consent. Now, here she does mention that it was indeed Star who brought that story to the public, but a few days ago, we have seen Sanetta on Hassan Campbell's platform trying to take credit for the story being what should I use? For the story blowing up, for lack of better words. Savage has since said he pretended to be older than he was and cleared Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation of any wrongdoing. He's seeking a meeting with Bambaataa and also a feature in the Universal Hip Hop Museum that Bambaataa co-founded. Some people are not solid all the way. Ron Savage is also a rapper, not the greatest lyricist in the world, and I don't know why they may have promised him. They may have promised him some features, some featurings. So I don't know. The Child Victims Act's 1-year look back window allowed adult survivors over 22 years old to sue perpetrators where the statute of limitations had run out. On August 4, 2021, 10 days before the deadline, John Doe filed the lawsuit that alleged Bambaataa not only repeatedly sexually abused him, but trafficked him to other men for money, beginning at 12. Bambaataa, now 65, was 34 years old when the abuse began. So, Frankie, the allegations about you and Nikki, you were 33 years old. So you were younger than Bambaataa. So this worse than you. She was 15. Allegedly, he was 33. I still haven't heard him denying. Is he still saying, well, you need to show the proof. You need to show the videotape of me making you do what he do with her. As long as you don't do that, then it's gossiping. Why can't he just say, well, it's not true? No, I didn't have a relationship with Nikki. Did that hard. Bambaataa, who now considers himself an intergalactic lord, infused the Zulu Nation with teachings of convicted pedophiles of convicted pedophile Malachi York, and reportedly practices a form of Moorish law that rejects the jurisdiction of United States courts. He recently posted pictures of himself on Instagram with awards he received from York's group and was soliciting bookings for a 2023 European tour. Membada and James Whipper II, known as Zulu King Prince Whipper Whip, have toured extensively since the allegations came to light. In 2004, Malachi York, like R. Kelly, was convicted of racketeering and the Mann Act for the illegal transport of minors for sexual purposes. Billy Ahmed Henderson, Bamberger's roommate. According to John Doe, Hassan Campbell, and other men who came forward alleging child sexual abuse, Bambata kept several locations that he used for sex with underage boys. One of those locations was an apartment at 1609E, 174th Street in Bronx River Public Housing. The apartment doubled as Zulu Nation headquarters and the office of Nubian Productions run by Henderson. Bambara used the address as late as 2017 in his trademark paperwork. The purpose of this the purpose of his trademarked name includes religious service. Henderson's bedroom shared a wall with Bambara's, and in an interview with Star, he claimed to not know anything about abuse of underage boys, nor have witnessed any abuse. I'm sorry. Hassan Campbell said the apartment was a cesspool for pedophiles. And there were times he wasn't there. There were times he was there. I don't care what he says. He knew what was going on. You could see the lust in his face. John Doe, who is younger than Campbell, started. Hold on. Let me check something. I don't like when he does that. I have a notification of receiving a new email, and then when I go there, there's nothing new. Let me continue. John Doe, who is younger than Campbell, started attending Zulu Nation meetings at the community center and, like other kids, was captivated by Bambara. The godfather of hip hop was an intimidating but lovable man who had a personal army in the Zulu Nation. Even though Bambara had reached the pinnacle of success in the 80s with his hit Planet Rock, he never left his base in Bronx River's public housing. Hassan Campbell thinks it is because Bambara could easily pick his victims from all the poor children and get away with it. You have to understand, Bam came to power during the crack era. Your mother's on dope, your father's on crack. This made it easy for him to pick his victims. And his apartment had everything a child could want. The intimidating Zulu Nation had hundreds of members in the area and unparalleled street strength. Even though the group's motto is peace, unity, love, and having fun, Star referred to the organization as a glorified gang. Flyers created for their parties contained a warning: come in peace or live in pieces. It was safer to belong to the Zulu nation than to oppose it. Even today, many in their 60s are afraid to speak ill about the Zulu nation. Campbell remembers hearing stories that people who spoke against Bambara would come up missing. He described Bambara as having split personalities to appeal to his victims. He could be the Malcolm X of Farrakhan, and then he could turn into a little child. Bambara took the kids to parties, concerts, and amusement parks. The hip hop world created an underground economy for poor kids like John Doe. The parties, the flyers, graffiti jackets, rapping, and beatboxing on corners, selling tapes, and doing security were all ways poor kids could make money. And the Zulu Nation was at the top of the pyramid. The subculture even had its own teachings and dominant areas of black thought. Malika Yos Nubians, the nation of Islam, the nation of gods and earth, Noble Drew Ali, and then Universal Hip Hop Culture, of which Mambara was the guru, and the Universal Hip Hop Museum only promotes. Now, all these different organizations is some Asiatic stuff, for the record. John Doe started attending Zulu meetings in Bronx River, and his 12-year-old mind was enthralled. Bambaataa taught classes that took from these other schools of thought, and Zulu Nation lessons were mixed with ancestors. Intergalactic superiority, and like any cult, the enemy was always on the attack. Members were hyper vigilant against anyone trying to take them down. Joe became a card carrying member of the Zulu Nation and part of Bambaata's personal security team. The Bronx River apartment was jumping with celebrities, music, movies, and a home gym. The weightlifting equipment seemed innocent enough and was a real draw for the young boys hanging out with the older and stronger Zulus. Bambaataa complimented them on their strength and asked them to remove their shirts so he could see their muscles. They said he would get his camera, take pictures of them, and even touch them. You could see the lust in his face, said Campbell, who was 12 when he said the abuse started. He took me in the bathroom and unzipped my pants. Sounds familiar. Somebody was singing Zip It Down, Take Off Your Pants, track field. What a coincidence. He took me in the bathroom and unzipped my pants, said another man who said he was 13. He made me go down on him, said another who was an underage teen. Corruption from the beginning plus child pornography. Taking pictures was something Bambaataa often did. Another man interviewed by this writer, except two, said Bambaataa showed them photo albums full of naked members of the Zulu Nation, DJs, and gang members in sexually explicit positions. You heard right. Gang members in sexually explicit positions. His photo books, survivors said, also contain underage boys through the years at different stages of development. Perhaps these compromising photos that Bambaataa allegedly possesses and their fear of exposure are are why many have been silent and claim to know nothing about his sexual activities with young boys. In addition, in addition to the photos, victims of Bambaataa said he used porn, prostitutes, and group sex to groom them. Bambaataa would initiate group sex with a woman, usually by hiring a prostitute. One man said he had sex with all the male Zulus in front of him when he was a child, and that others openly masturbated with Bambaataa while watching porn. They also accused the prolific and conscious community leader of having masturbation contests with groups of young boys to see who could finish first. Bambaataa, the god of universal hip hop culture, would pay them with $2 bills and dollar coins when they finished, perhaps as a way to groom them into receiving money for sex. I need to pause for now. I need to pause now because this is a lot. This is a lot. I want to go through the comments right now. Masturbation contest. I wonder if some people have some zip it down contest. Bennett is asking, has Sanetta or Reggie and the gang promoted this march or document? I haven't heard of that. I'd be surprised if they do, but I'd be glad if they do. But my little finger tells me, in French we say, my little finger tells me. It's like, my intuition tells me. I really doubt that they will. Layla Wheels and her collective are normal thinking people. Law, Sanetta, Reggie, and the gang are not. Sounds like Saya Netta, Reggie, and the gang do not support this march or effort to lay the wheels and collective are making. If you were a pedophile living in New York and involved with child sex trafficking and sex trafficking, would you support this march? Bambaataa preferred a guilty verdict and judgment to any amount than to appeal or have a record taken that could lead to federal criminal charges. In other words, he doesn't want self-incriminate, although he knows he can be seen as being guilty in a civil trial. Civil case, you can't plead the fifth. Bambaataa has real lawyers advising him to not respond or not appeal until a criminal case forces him. That can only come from a federal court law. I'm sorry, from a federal court now. But a civil case he is willing to lose. This is a real sex trafficking hip hop gang with people that are in that book in the hip hop industry. Executives, rappers, managers, studio operators, etc. Former members say that the Zulu Nation wanted to have an all-female chapter to get into the prostitution business, and several women who were part of the Zulu Nation have disclosed being raped. John Doe's lawsuit lends some credence to the prostitution rumor. The Zulu Nation front provided enough cover for Bambaataa to take 12-year-old John Doe to the apartments of other adult men. The men at these locations pay Bambaataa cash for their chance to take advantage of the boy. By 94, hip hop was dominating the music scene. The Zulu Nation grew exponentially worldwide and became the Universal Zulu Nation. In 95, then Mayor Rudolph Giuliani kicked Bambaataa and the Zulu Nation out of Bronx River after residents complained of being held hostage by the group and reported the crime and violence the group was committing. Through the years, Zulus were arrested for shootings, robberies, and two members of Soul Sonic Force, Bambaataa's group, were arrested for a 1979 bank holdup. The cops recognized them while watching the movie Beat Street. Okay, in about an hour, I will stop because I'm feeling quite tired, so I will have to do a part two. Now, the survivors and the public are supposed to feed into the delusional history perpetrated by UZN and the Universal Museum, or let's say the Hip Hop Museum, and allow public dollars to promote them and fund programs for children. Overcome the negative with the positive. Afrika Bambaataa. The public face of the Zulu Nation outside of the Bronx was that of a righteous organization, and Bambaataa was well respected. Many considered him genuine principal leader, a genuine principal leader, and do gooder. He bought poor people's groceries and helped anyone who needed it. Here, this picture. This is TC Islam, former international spokesman, Zulu Nation, and the photo is from Leila Wills herself. So I'm going to stop here. Feel free to make your comments in the chat, but I'm not going to send the link for the lives because maybe some of you noticed, but I kept yawning and feel like my eyes are closing down. So I need to rest. There's a lot in this report. Oh my goodness. There's a lot in this report, man. Brothers and sisters, I want to say, tune in. I don't know if I'll do the part two tomorrow or Tuesday, but we'll see. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy. If I'm allowed to by the nature, I will definitely holler back at you. I don't argue, I stay fast. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. The way to do any hotel.
Now, for the record, for those who don't know, I'm giving middle nature classes. And here, that's the flyer. Okay? So, those who are interested, feel free to holler at me. If you're not interested, it's cool. But I recommend that everybody who has not yet seen the video, Kemet and Ma'at, Before Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, then watch it. It has about 300,000 views and really deserves to have a lot more.
I just want to let everyone know who's listening in now and who's going to listen to this stream in the future. I just had my first Meta Nature class by Brother Shaka today, and I've had other Meta Nature lessons by other teachers, and I can tell you right now, the brother is the best in the game. He is that was one of the best classes I've ever had, ever. So if you're interested in learning the Meta Nature, if you're interested in getting the basics of it, Brother Shaka is an awesome teacher. Get with him, and it's extremely affordable. This brother is giving us his time and his skills, and he's basically giving it away. I mean, I just consider it a donation. You know what I'm saying? So if anybody's interested in learning the Meta Nature, get with this brother right here. He's an awesome, awesome, awesome teacher. And I'll end with that.
Hotep Senu, Hena Senut. This is Julie, also known as Servant of Yah, and I'm currently taking the Medu Neture classes with Brother Shaka, and it has been an amazing experience. Only 2 lessons so far, and I feel like I've been taking the classes for months, just with the how in depth he goes into the vocabulary words, the construction of the language, the grammar. It's been immeasurable, the experience. And one thing that comes across, hands down, is his extreme passion for teaching this to anyone who is willing to learn and has an interest in learning. So I highly suggest, if you are interested, even a minimal interest, that you subscribe to the classes with Brother Shaka. It's such a nominal amount for how much you get. I know, like, our last class was over 2.5 hours. It felt like 2 minutes, but because that's how, involved you are in what he's teaching and how he teaches and how compassionate he is about what he teaches. Also with sharing materials free of charge, no question, no doubt. It's just what he does. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I just wanted to give a short testimonial about the class and the effectiveness of the class. And all of that is attested to how studied Brother Shaka is. So I highly recommend anyone with a minimal interest that you do sign up for the Medu Neture class. Hotep.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, which is Ma'at Forever. Don't forget to watch the video entitled Kemet and Ma'at. Don't forget to share Kemet and Ma'at on my channel on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or other social media that you use. Email, text messages, you name it. Those who wish to donate can do so on paypal.me/Ma'at Forever.